Welcome to CBA. This is our top stories with me, Hamza Dabcheru. Somaliland political parties have blown its House of Elders endorsement, the election timeline. A consultative meeting kicks off in Somalia. EU launches 14.3 million projects to support Somalia. Uganda allows reopening of schools amid strict COVID-19 measures. South Sudan questions Transparency International draft report. Welcome to our news bulletin. Somaliland House of Elders on Tuesday endorsed the election timeline set by the National Electoral Commission, along with the political parties. The two main opposition parties, Wadania and Uid, have welcomed the House of Elders endorsement on the election timeline. Somaliland political parties have strongly welcomed the country's House of Elders endorsement of the election timeline set by the National Electoral Commission and the national political parties. The two main opposition parties, Wadania and Uid, have separately welcomed the approval of the House of Elders for the election date. The chairman of Wadani Party, Abdurrahman Ira, said that this coming election will allow young aspiring politicians to be elected and others will cast their vote for the first time in history. The Deputy Secretary General of Uid Party, Abdinasir Yusuf Qodah, described the move as a lasting solution which ended a long-running disagreements between the political parties over the timing of parliamentary and local council elections. On Tuesday, the House of Elders agreed that the country's parliamentary and local council elections to take place on 31st May of this year, as proposed by the President and the Electoral Commission along with the political parties. The Somalia Fourth Conference has kicked off later today, where top federal government officials and its member states are attending to discuss the upcoming general elections in Somalia. The Dusamareb consultative meeting has officially commenced in Galmudug administrative capital Dusamareb. Federal and regional leaders have gathered in the city for the fourth round of the electoral talks. This meeting is expected to conclude the long-running disputes which have been elections postponed 3 times since October. The forum will focus on the 17th September agreement signed by the federal government and leaders of regional states. According to the federal government officials, the forum was earlier scheduled to start Tuesday, but was postponed to give the leaders resting time. The Somalia President Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo, Prime Minister Mohamed Hussein Roble, leaders from federal member states, and the governor of Banadil region will be the key participants of this meeting. The Council of Presidential Candidates, which brings together 14 presidential candidates, have welcomed the Dusamareb talks and called for an agreement to allow elections to take place. Somalia's parliamentary and presidential elections were earlier scheduled to take place this year, but differences over electoral committees had forced the elections to be postponed. The European Union has launched $14.3 million projects to support Somalia. The projects will enable financial institutions to successfully provide relevant financing to local small and medium-sized enterprises. European Union has unveiled 14.3 million projects to support Somalia's private sectors. In a statement, the EU said these projects will enable financial institutions to successfully provide relevant financing to local small and medium-sized enterprises. EU Ambassador to Somalia Nicholas Belanga said launching 3 private sector projects comprising revolving funds, guarantees for loans, technical assistance, and collaboration to improve the business climate that may attract European investors to Somalia. Stability brings prosperity. The federal government of Somalia has expressed gratitude to the EU for continued investment in Somalia's private sectors, and the promotion as well as attraction of foreign direct investment is an integral for inclusive economic growth. According to IMF, Somalia has committed to maintaining macroeconomic stability, implementing a poverty reduction strategy, and putting in place a set of reforms focused on fiscal stability. And now let's go to Uganda. Uganda on Tuesday allowed the reopening of schools and institutions of higher learning, provided that adhere to the strict COVID-19 prevention measures.
Uganda on Tuesday allowed the reopening of schools and institutions of higher learning, provided they adhere to strict COVID-19 prevention measures. The Uganda Media Center, in a statement issued here, said cabinet ministers in a meeting on Monday agreed that school for non-candidate learners reopens in a staggered manner that will ensure compliance with COVID-19 standard operating procedures and safety. The statement said officials from the Ministry of Education and that of the Health will do a countrywide tour of schools and institutions to ascertain their readiness to reopen for non-candidate classes. Candidate classes are already in school. Semi-candidate classes have been allowed to start school and will study in shifts where necessary with candidates. The statement said when candidate classes in primary and secondary levels finish final examination at the end of March and early April, respectively, there will be more space in schools for other classes to report back and complement homeschooling. Universities will open in a staggered manner that will ensure compliance with COVID-19, according to the statement. An awareness campaign, according to the statement, will be carried out to enable learners and parents prepare for the reopening.
The government of Tanzania says it has no plans to roll out COVID vaccines to combat the virus that has killed over 2.4 million people worldwide.
We have decided to go this way to depend on God. We have started with God and we shall finish with Him. In reality, God has answered our prayers. The number of infected patients is dropping.
The government of Tanzania says it has no plan to roll out COVID-19 vaccines to combat the virus that has killed over 2.4 million people worldwide. Health Minister Dorothy Gwajima said in a press briefing in the capital, Dodoma, that the ministry has no plans to receive vaccines for COVID-19.
You were notified that the Tanzanian government, through the Ministry of Health, will adhere to protocols it deems fit when it needs to provide any medical product. It is usually done after the government is confident in the health product's safety. We will thus have to ensure its safety and not otherwise.
The comment from the health minister is coming days after President John Magufuli warned health officials against acquiring vaccines, saying they could harm people without giving evidence. The president has been accused of playing down the threats posed by the virus. It is not clear when any vaccines might arrive, though Tanzania is eligible for the COVAX global effort aimed at delivering doses to low and middle-income countries. Millions of people have already been immunized in many countries after the vaccines were given emergency approval. Last month, the World Health Organization (WHO) urged Tanzania to consider inoculating its population. Tanzania is one of the few countries in the world to not publish any data on COVID-19 cases. The last COVID-19 data published by the country was in May 2020, when about 500 cases and 20 deaths were recorded. By the following month, the president declared Tanzania coronavirus-free. Meanwhile, the United States of America Center for Disease Control and Prevention, in its latest travel warning on Tanzania, says the country's level of COVID-19 is very high. It gave no details but urged against all travels to the East African nation. Kamil Sadiq, CBATV.
And now let's see South Sudan. South Sudanese government has questioned its Transparency International's 2020 report that ranked it the second most corruption country in the worldwide and most corrupt country in East Africa.
Speaking to East African on Tuesday, government spokesman Michael Makwe accused international organizations, including Transparency International, of being corrupt. It's not enough to say so, and so is corrupt without clear evidence. Even the international non-governmental organizations are the most corrupt. I don't say corruption doesn't exist in South Sudan, but there is no country in this world where there is no corruption. And there are no organizations where there is no corruption. So this idea of people pointing fingers at others, accusing them of being corrupt, isn't fair. All are corrupt, but it's only the level of corruption, including the so-called Transparency International, is corrupt too, Makwe said in the statement. He added that the unity government has put structures in place to fight corruption. He said South Sudan is working hard to address corruption with the Anti-Corruption Commission, adding that those who said the commission is toothless only expressed their opinions. Transparency International's 2020 Corruption Perception Index, CPI, ranked South Sudan the second most corrupt country across the globe, with Syria taking the lead. It also ranked South Sudan the most corrupt in Eastern Africa, followed by Somalia. In its 2019 report, Transparency International ranked South Sudan the most corrupt country in Eastern Africa, followed by Burundi. Kenya and Uganda tied in third position, while Rwanda was rated the least corrupt country in the region and the only EAC state to score above the global average rate of 43 points after garnering 53 points. A 2013 report about corruption in South Sudan, released by the Century, indicated that the vice spreads across all sectors of the economy and all levels of government.
A call center in Johannesburg is providing badly needed wellness services for corporate clients in South Africa. Health impact measures that corporate workers are healthier environments.
Health impact ensures that corporate workplaces are healthier environment.
When we started, there was a lot of confusion, a lot of panic. Many people didn't know. But as we're getting along now, find that now people are knowledgeable, but there are still those people who call in without a clue of what to do. So we always make sure that we educate them. We take time to educate.
They also provide suspected coronavirus patients with tests and medical help. In a way to support the government of South Africa kick out the virus, Health Impact also offers information and strategies on how to keep workplaces safe and healthier as the Southern African nation is set to begin its vaccination program.
And then those that are positive now, we give them a call, we tell them the result, and then we also assist with contact tracing. The virus is highly transmittable, so we assist also employees with contact tracing. At the same time, we also do case management, where we call them maybe after 24 hours, 48 hours to find out how they're doing.
They also provide suspected coronavirus patients with tests and medical help. South Africa is due to inoculate the over 1.2 million frontline healthcare workers mid-February after it received the first batch of vaccines on Monday.
The UN Population Fund has donated 18,200 personal protective equipment and life-saving commodities to the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, in order to prevent and contain the widespread of COVID-19, especially among health workers.
The UN Population Fund, UNFPA, has donated 18,200 personal protective equipment and life-saving commodities to the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, in order to prevent and contain the widespread of COVID-19, especially among health workers. Items donated were 3,200 protective goggles, 3,000 pieces of surgical gloves, 6,000 pieces of examination gloves, and 6,000 pieces of surgical face masks. Presenting the PPEs in Abuja, Ms. Karima Bungudu, the UNFPA FCT focal point, gender female genital mutilation analyst, said that the donation was in accordance with the task of engaging civil society organizations to mitigate the negative impact of COVID-19.
These essential services must be augmented with COVID-19 infection prevention measures, including but not limited to a good hygienic practice and the use of personal protective equipment, which are necessary to protect personnel and public health, especially women and girls.
Ms. Bungudu reiterated the determination of UNFPA to reducing the spread of the COVID-19 infection, saying that PPEs and life-saving commodities were part of efforts to ensure unhindered access to reproductive and maternal health care. She described PPE as necessary tools to protect personnel and public health, especially women and girls. While receiving the donated items, Dr. Indiayo Iwat, the Acting Executive Secretary, FCT Primary Healthcare Board, described the donation as timely and critical in consolidating the results so far achieved in containing COVID-19 in the FCT.
It will be distributed to the right people and right facility and right community. But believe me, well, I'm not only welcoming you, but I want you to further strengthen the relationship. We need people like you in FCT to fight COVID-19 to stand still. Because FCT is almost classified as an epicenter, if not because of the commitment of the administration. one will have been imagined the number of people that will have died endlessly in FCT. But we have centers that is taking care of these people, that is providing the quality services. That's why even the mortality rate in FCT, despite the high records of the statistics, believe me, we still have very low mortality rate.
Also, he commended the UNFPA for the timely intervention in the sustenance of FCT's awareness campaign against the COVID-19. Also speaking at the event, Madam Lawal Muhammad, the Director FCT Economic Planning, Research and Statistics, expressed his appreciation to UNFPA for the support in fighting COVID-19 and other health challenges in the territory. Established in 1973, the United Nations Population Fund UNFPA in Nigeria is located in the Federal Capital Territory of Abuja with 4 sub-offices to respond to population issues throughout 6 geopolitical zones of the country: the Northwest, Northeast, North Central, Southwest, Southeast, and South-South. Kamel Sadiq, CBATV, Nigeria.
We are still in Nigeria. President Muhammadu Buhari has assured the Nigerians of full implementation of the 2021 budget with all transparency and opinions in a meeting that targets.
I would like to reiterate Nigeria's commitment to working with you all.
President Muhammadu Buhari has assured Nigerians of full implementation of the 2021 budget with all transparency and openness in meeting the targets. Buhari, who spoke in Daura after the registration and revalidation exercise of the All Progressives Congress, said the budget aptly captured some of the visions of the administration and all effort will be poured in to ensure effective implementation. He, however, appreciated the National Assembly for the effective and detailed attention before the passage. Buhari said the administration had given more attention to agriculture in order to diversify and strengthen the economy. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has returned to the capital, Abuja, after a 4-day official visit to Daura, his hometown in Katsina State, northwest Nigeria. The presidential aircraft carrying the president and some presidential aides arrived at the presidential wing of the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, at about 5 p.m. Nigerian time. Buhari was welcomed at the airport by his Chief of Staff, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, Minister of the Federal Capital Territory (FCT), Muhammad Bello, Inspector General of Police, Muhammad Adamu, and other government officials. In his visit to his hometown, President Buhari participated in the All Progressives Congress APC membership registration and revalidation exercise at the Sarkin Yara ward on Saturday. The president later hosted some APC governors who earlier accompanied him to the venue of the registration exercise. Kamel Sadiq, CBATV, Nigeria.
Amazon founder Jeff Bezos is to step down as chief executive of the e-commerce giant that he started in his garage nearly 30 years ago. He will become executive chairman, a move he said will give him time and energy to focus on his other ventures.
And I'm very grateful to them. I think customers are going to be very grateful to them.
Amazon founder Jeff Bezos is to step down as chief executive of the e-commerce giant that he started in his garage nearly 30 years ago. He will become executive chairman, a move he said will give him time and energy to focus in his other ventures. Mrs. Bezos, the world's richest man, will be replaced by Andy Jassy, who currently leads Amazon cloud computing business. The change will take place in the second half of 2021, the company said. Being the CEO of Amazon is a deep responsibility, and it's consuming. When you have responsibility like that, it's hard to beat attention or anything else, Mr. Bezos said in a letter to Amazon staff on Tuesday. As executive, I'll stay engaged in important Amazon initiatives, but I also have the time and energy I need to focus on the Day One Fund, the Bezos S Fund, Blue Origin, the Washington Post, and my other passions. I never had more energy, and this is not about retiring. I'm super passionate about the impact I have these organizations can have, he added. Mrs. Bezos, 57, has led Amazon since its start as an online bookshop in 1994. The firm now employs 1.3 million people globally, and it has its hand in everything from baggage delivery and streaming video to cloud services and advertising. He amassed a fortune of about $196.2 billion, according to Forbes' list of billionaires. It saw its already explosive growth skyrocket last year as the pandemic prompted surge in online shopping. The firm reported $386 billion in sales in 2020, up 38% from 2019. Profits also doubled, rising to $21.3 billion. In announcing the plans, Mr. Bezos said he would continue to focus on products and early initiatives.
And now let's see our sports news with Abdulaziz.
Manchester United equalled the Premier League record by putting 9 goals past 9-man Southampton, the second time Saints have lost 9-0 in as many seasons. A red card for Saints Alexander Jankwitz after only 2 minutes triggered a complete collapse for the visitors, who won the end of the same scoreline against Leicester City in October 2019. It is only the third time a team has lost 9-0 in the Premier League, with United also beating Ipswich Town by the same margin in 1995. Aaron Wan-Bissaka opened the scoring with his first goal at Old Trafford. Marcus Rashford and Edison Cavani also found the net either side of Jan Benderek on goal before the break. After a fairly drab start to the second half, United cut loose, scoring 5 times in the final 21 minutes. Cristiano Ronaldo scored twice as Juve came from behind to win the first leg of the Coppa d'Italia semi-final at Inter Milan. Argentine forward Lautaro Martinez had put Inter in front, steering a shot past goalkeeper Buffon in his 1,100th senior appearance. However, Ashley Cole's foul on Cuadrado allowed Ronaldo to level with a penalty. The Portuguese forward then capitalized a defensive mistake for his second. That rounded off the scoring in a bad-tempered encounter, which saw 9 players booked as Andre Pirlo's side earned revenge for their 2-0 Serie A defeat against Inter in January. Arsenal had 2 players sent off as they threw away a lead and lost to Wolves, who won for the first time in 9 Premier League games. The Gunners, who had early hit the woodwork twice and had a goal disallowed, went ahead when Nicolas Pepe held off 2 Wolves challengers and curled a fine finish into the net. But Arsenal were reduced to 10 men when defender David Luiz brought down Willian Jose, with Ruben Neves equalizing with a resulting penalty in the first half injury. João Moutinho scored with a brilliant strike from 30 yards out to put hosts ahead soon after the restart. However, the Gunners were then reduced to 9 players as goalkeeper Bernard Leno handed the ball outside of his penalty area after racing out to deny Adama Traore.
And that's our news bulletin for this time. Thank you very much for being with us.